camera needs to be between me and what's on the screen, because I can't look at the screen. I have to look at the camera. How do I look
when you speak
now
to my audience,
looking at the camera?
What I'll do is when I ask you a question, I'll go like this. You talk to me and you talk to the camera. Talk to me, talk to the camera. Just keep changing your direction.
All right. Okay.
But this way.
And how long is this going to go?
16 hours. I don't know. Whatever you're comfortable with.
Well,
45 minutes.
There was no stopping you last time. I had it.
You got a lot to say. Donald Trump, I'd have him on. He'd be on for 6 hours, like Castro used to be.
Okay. We're going to need to have a clock, JP.
Try to keep me to like 45 minutes, 50 minutes max.
Let me see if I can bring something.
You know,
we have to go
live.
live.
You have your phone. You're fine if you need it.
Oh, yeah.
We are live. Hey everybody, we're already live. I didn't realize we went live, but this is William Still True Crime and Still a Spotlight Television, along with Still a Spotlight Public Relations. And we have Tom Madden from Transmedia Group looking, and we have Peter Ticktin here, Donald Trump's attorney. We're gonna go through some incredible stories on the eve of the election. We're literally hours away, and as you can see, me hanging out with Peter Ticktin. Peter, thank you so much for being on the show again.
It's my pleasure.
God bless you, brother.
All right.
So we have a lot of stuff to discuss. I want you to sort of lead with what is the most important thing going on right now. We already have people that are submitting some questions.
To get more centered in the screen. Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you want to know?
We want to know the most important thing you want to bring to the public's attention right now with hours to go in the election. I know one thing you brought to our attention recently is that the Azov Battalion and the Nazis are actually something that Kamala Harris
is real Nazis, you know. And it's funny because we released a video that basically showed evidence of what the Azov Battalion really is and what's going on, and the people associated with it, including the second attempted assassin, okay, was part of all of that as well.
Right.
And, you know, people said that he was, that they said, what a coincidence. The first shooter and the second shooter both made commercials for BlackRock, but it's not true. The first one did. The second one made a commercial for the Azov Battalion. And what's going on is we've given them $40 billion there, $60 billion here, $2 billion there, $3 billion here. We gave them a total of $225 billion. So, you know, when you say these numbers to most people, you know, it's very hard to understand what the heck that is.
Right.
Okay. So if I were to give you $1,000, right, that's significant, right? That would be not a bad day for you if I gave you $1,000. Yeah. So what if I took $1,000 and put it on the table? Remember, you used to have $1,000 bills before the drug trade got so bad. Remember?
Right.
Okay. So if I took $1,000 bill and put another one on top of it, another one on top of it, until I got to $1 million, that would be $1,000 bills. The pile would be 8.5 inches tall. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's $1 million. But if I keep adding to that pile to get to $1 billion, that pile would be far taller than the Washington Monument.
So Kamala Harris and the Biden administration have been supporting the Nazis. See, a lot of people, like I said on the last show you did with us, and we're going to get into more sensitive issues as well. Zelensky's Jewish. How in the world are you saying that they are Nazis? Well, because the Azov Battalion uses a stylized swastika. They use the swastika. They give that Nazi salute, and they have the same sort of beliefs.
Zelensky was the clown that they basically made and put into place. They developed this fellow. Okay, they put him into programs that made him look like a leader of the Ukraine, and where he had sensible ideas and so on. But those are all the scripts that were made for him.
Right. He was also a famous comedian or television personality.
Right. Yeah.
So
yes, but that was all stuff that was written for him, or that he basically prepared for a persona that wasn't himself. It's not like Donald Trump was a media, you know, personality, but that was always the same personality. That was always Donald Trump.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Zelensky is a different deal. And yes, he has Jewish origins. You know, he's Jewish, but that doesn't mean that he's not part of this new world order and part of what he sees he can capitalize on. And besides that, what's he going to do about it? You know, he gets elected. He, in all fairness, he was going to sign the Minsk Accord, Putin was going to sign the Minsk Accord, and they were going to have peace. And then you have Boris Johnson with the authority of President Biden going out to visit this chap and saying, no, 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 not so fast. Okay, you're not doing that.
So it's amazing.
So it was the U.S. and Great Britain that really caused this whole war to stem up, because now what do you have? You have a cesspool over there of corruption and true Nazis in the whole works that are laundering money and that are basically paying the money out to who knows who for whatever purposes. It's not accounted for. Nobody has an accounting of it. Nobody can do an audit of it. Nobody. Okay. And you've got this huge amount of money. I told you what $1 billion is. I said that pile of $1,000 bills would be taller than the Washington Monument. In fact, the Washington Monument's 550 feet.
Right. And
8,500 inches is 700 feet. So it's far more than the Washington Monument. Okay. Right. In terms of what we're talking, and that's $1 billion. And they've given $225 billion to these people. And it's going to go on and on and on while they flirt with nuclear war. Right. Because, you know, for their money to get all of this and have this military exercise going on and going on and going on.
The fearmongering is necessary.
And all that money, to them, it's worth the risk. But for us, you know, in fact, I was with Donald Trump. You know, we were in same classes in some classes in 1962 when the October crisis was ongoing
with Cuba and the Soviet Union,
and we were afraid. Okay, I mean, it wasn't just we were afraid; the whole country was in fear. We're actually closer to a nuclear war now than we were then, and nobody's afraid. Nobody's concerned. Nobody realizes that there's a problem. So, I mean, it's almost mind-boggling, because I'll tell you, these mistakes and this kind of thing happens in the absence of people understanding and knowing what's going on.
Right. So Kamala Harris is constantly, let's keep supporting Ukraine, the Nazis, the real Nazis, while simultaneously spreading propaganda that Trump's a Nazi. The mainstream media is obviously a propaganda arm for them, in my opinion.
Everything works together. Right. All the insanity works together. Why are there open borders? That doesn't make any sense on any level whatsoever, that we should have 21,000 illegal people who are willing to break the law, come into our country and occupy and take people's jobs. Yeah, it's great in a way for people that are employing them. They can get labor cheaper. You know, maybe that's a good thing for them, but it's not good for Americans.
Mary calls that a distraction circus to what's really going on, probably.
No, it's not. There's different reasons that these things are occurring. You know, it gives them foreign armed forces that are in our midst. It gives them. It changes things in terms of the number of votes. I mean, imagine 21 million people came in, gave their IDs, gave their information. And then the next people that saw them after that were probably people on the left that were saying, you got to register to vote. And don't worry about it. You don't even need an address. We're going to send it all. And they put their addresses in. Then they make up the ballots and they stuff the ballot boxes with all of that. That's the craziness of what's going on. So why am I hopeful for this election? Why do I think that we're going to win? It's because the Republicans have waken up and they realize that they damn well better get to the polls and they better get out there and vote. But every one of the votes that are manufactured for Kamala Harris counts as one vote. It goes into her column. There's another vote for her, another vote for her. So even let's just say they got the 21 million votes and maybe 7 million from before, from the 2020 election, or maybe make it up to 10, 30 million extra votes. And let's just say that there's another 10 they have from people that are overseas that they're saying are either 9 or 12 million. Let's just say they've got that. But the point is that each one of those votes counts as one vote going into Kamala's column. Right. Whereas each vote that goes into Donald Trump's column, that's a new voter for him. such as the increased number of blacks, the increased number of Hispanics, the increased number of women, okay, and younger people, they count as two. Why do they count as two?
Right.
Because one goes on to Donald Trump's column and the other one comes out of Kamala Harris's column.
There you go.
Okay, right? Because they're real voters that are switching over. So when they switch over, it not only goes into Donald Trump's column, it comes out of Harris.
I notice all this woke stuff and things that are being exposed left and right, especially by good people like you and other people that are brave enough to stand up. I notice a lot of Democrats are actually getting out of the party and either becoming independent or going to vote for Trump. A ton of them. I've talked to them personally. A lot of.
Oh, you know what? Once your eyes are open. When I was a kid, I used to swim underwater. As a little kid, and my eyes were always closed, right? And I don't know how it came out, but somebody said, you can swim with your eyes open. And so I didn't dare. I always had my eyes closed. But I got under the water and I opened my eyes and I couldn't believe it. I could actually see, and it didn't hurt, didn't burn. It was all fine. And so, but once you open your eyes underwater, you never close them again when you go underwater. Right. You always, once you get over the blindness, you don't ever get over the sight. And that
I once was blind and now I see. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, I love that song. Yeah. A wretch like me.
That's right. Peter,
yeah.
I just want to remind my audience who you are, and we're going to get to something really critical. There's a reward program in place. We're going to get into that in a second. Put Peter's book up on the screen. Peter went to New York Military Academy with Donald Trump. There they are together in school, and he has a ton of stories. I have other shows up about this. So this is the consummate insider, not revealing anything he's not supposed to reveal, but he has a unique perspective on things. And the things he talks about, he has the consent of Donald Trump specifically to mention. You were with him a few days ago. I'm sure you talk to him all the time.
No, I don't talk to him all the time. And I wasn't with him a few days ago.
I thought it was at the Mar-a-Lago
I was
event.
going to, but, I was with one of the guys I was with. He had a little more to drink than he should have, and I was driving him somewhere, so I had to leave early, and so I missed Donald. But I would have seen him.
You got to kidding me! And you're in the documentary. What's the name of the documentary again?
The Man Who You Don't Know.
The Man Who You Don't Know.
The Man You Don't Know.
The Man You Don't Know. There it is on the screen. Peter's in it because he's friend / attorney with Donald, and so we're going to get into this thing with this reward program. The American Alliance, I think it's called.
No, the American Rights Alliance.
Check out the American Rights Alliance. We have links in the description, and we're posting some stuff from them.
Oh, no, we're putting up some billboards as well in Maricopa County today, and we've got ads. We're offering up to $50,000 for information to the arrest and conviction of people guilty of different kinds of election fraud. We've already gotten a lot of responses, and Elon Musk basically posted or tweeted. I don't know what they call it now. X used to be Twitter.
And
but they don't tweet. I don't know. I gotta find out what they call it.
They put out an X.
But in any event, let's just use the old vernacular or from the old lexicon. He tweeted the movie with that ad from American Rights Alliance attached to it. So
perfect. A lot of publicity for that. So they are going to be going after these people. Hopefully they get prosecuted, because if it's organized election fraud and ballot theft and stuffing and all that, I'm sure if it's organized, that could be a racketeering charge.
The thing is, you're betting that the criminals are going to win again, like they did in 2020, and that it's okay for you to stuff those ballot boxes and act against the law. That's your gamble, because guess what? If Donald Trump wins, very good chance that you're going to suffer the consequences.
May we ask you publicly on the show, who's behind that alliance putting up that reward? What's that fun?
Well, there are donors to the charity.
Okay.
But basically, Evan Turk is the fellow that basically lined it up and made it work. He's terrific.
Okay, Evan Turk.
Evan Turk, yeah.
There you go. So check it out. It's in the description for the reward program. We want to know if we have some fan and supporters questions on screen. I know Tom Madden chimed in with something. I think Ignacio had a question. Peter, our mutual friend Tom, who also represents you for
Tom
public relations.
Yeah. You know what? he was once vice president of NBC.
That's
like
right.
the top one under what? Silverstein?
Fred Silverman.
Silverman?
I think Silverman. Fred Silver. I don't know. I apologize, Tom, if I forgot. But yes.
But yeah. You don't have to be that bright to be the CEO, but you got to be really bright to be his number one man.
That's
right? Because you're easily expendable in the event that you're not able to meet the burdens that were on you, where the CEO can get away with it, just get somebody with some brains to help him. And so Tom Madden was the brains that was making it happen. Tom is, that's what I love about him, is his brain. I mean, God, he's over 80 now, and sharp as a tack.
Tom has Madden Mischief blog. Check out his blog, and he works with Peter. He works anything I need. He's generally there for me. Thank God. He actually introduced me to Mary. My fiance, Dr. Mary Bass, is a forensic accountant, a certified fraud examiner, and civilian fraud examiner. She's an expert with nonprofits. She used to raise venture capital, and now we work with the only 3 reality stars in the country that do wrongful conviction cases. If you have something, Kim Kardashian is the only other one doing it, and we're hoping to bring her in on a case in California. David Michael
Nancy
Reinhardt.
Grace did it too.
I don't think she works real hardcore with wrongful conviction. But by the way, Nancy Grace, let me give you this on screen. So Nancy Grace covered my first book right there, Sex and the Serial Killer. Links in the description. I autographed the copy for you.
Oh, thank you.
This guy was there for me through my incarceration as an attorney, friend, and just like, I'm a very persistent fellow, so I would call him like relentlessly. I think everybody can vouch for that. And they both had the best hopes for me, and hopefully I'm doing everybody right. So, and Tom's a dear friend. Mary was looking for representation for David Reinhardt. He's in Soledad still. And the poor guy shot a police robot and ended up getting a 53-year sentence after turning down a plea for time served. And then he went to parole a few months ago, and they gave him a 15-year denial. So how do you go from shooting a police robot in like early 2000s and you're still in prison, and the Menendez brothers are about to get out? Looks like it.
Well, the Menendez brothers, maybe they should get out.
Maybe.
There seems to be more to the story there, in terms of whether they were actually abused, and certain things have come to light, apparently. So, who knows?
Now, Peter, and I offered to include you in the show because we're going to be filming more of Inmate to Roommate. I'm on A&E Network and on Hulu. Inmate to Roommate, there's the show, okay? There was a list of rules on my wall right here. I sell these autographed now, by the way, if somebody wants one. So I gave one as a gift to my buddy here, autographed. And then we have this. This is Mary up here. This is me. We have Ignacio Esteban, retired ATF agent. Louis Ballesteri. No, that's Frank Lordy. This Louis Ballesteri, retired New York City organized crime detective, made a gigantic case in the 90s. And Frank Lordy, dear friend, he's on here down below on the right-hand side. Frank was a county commissioner in Mahone County, Ohio, who was wrongfully convicted, a political retribution case. At that time, he was a Democrat, but now he's seen the light and he's a Trump supporter. But he got exonerated a few weeks ago, and now he has a book out called Framed Innocence, and he's a co-host of Mine as Well. These are all for you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
I don't think you have any more wall space. I wish we're going to do some B-roll and put this on a later edited version, although this is going out live. This office walls are lined with articles of successful cases that he's been involved with. But the most important thing is the state of this election. Now, what do you feel is at stake? Tom wants to know. He's like, what is at stake in this election?
Yeah, I know. I talk to Tom on a regular basis, and Tom seems to think that this is a fight between Democrats and Republicans to some extent. And I wish it were, but it's not. I don't normally want to talk about what's really at stake here, because what I would have to say is something that is not really believed by most people. Do you want to talk with me?
Of course. I was just making sure we're getting all the fans' questions.
Oh, okay. I don't, Mary, you tell us if there are questions.
Generally, she can put them up on the screen so we can look at them.
Okay, good. Okay. I just have a hard time talking to somebody. I was explaining to one of my associates today, as a matter of fact, of what to do when your judge that you're talking to and pleading a case to is reading something else.
Slam a book down,
No,
startle them.
that might work, but slamming a book is a good idea, but you might end up getting the decision you don't want.
Right.
Okay. So, so what I do when the judge is reading something, which happens, we all do that. I'm guilty of it too, thinking that I can still follow the conversation, but I just need to read this one thing, and I'll read that one thing, and I'll forget that I'm even in the world that this person is speaking in, and so we all do it, and judges are no exception. So when the judge has orders he's got to sign, he's reading the order, signing it, and reading another one, because when judges work so hard, people just don't realize it. They think, oh, isn't it cool to be a judge? You just have to sit there and make decisions. No. They work really hard. Good judges. And I could talk about.
I know your daughter was an incredible judge.
Yeah, my daughter was a great judge.
There you have it.
And in the 6 years she served, twice she was given the distinction of Judge of the Year.
Oh, wow.
So she's, she was a great judge. But for personal reasons, she didn't want to continue that, and now she does mediations. But anyway, so what do you do when your judge is reading and there's no sense in talking because you're not getting your point across? So I stop, and I was talking. This whole conversation was about the difference between men and women, and that women multitask and men don't. And I explained that when I do that, and I stop, and if I'm in front of a male judge, it could go for 30 seconds to a minute before the judge realizes, oh my God, what's going on? It's quiet out there. And they'll always say the same thing too, God bless them all, but they always say the same thing, which is, that's okay, I'm listening.
Yeah.
Okay, which is what they honestly think that they're doing. Okay, they're not being dishonest. They think that they can do both. And I tell the judge, it's not you, Judge, it's me. I just have a hard time talking to somebody who's reading. I just can't, to me, it's just a problem.
But that almost,
and then they say, okay, and they'll look at me and they'll say, I'm listening fully now. And as though I dare you to come up with something worth listening to. But women judges, maybe sometimes instantly and sometimes 10 seconds, as soon as it's quiet, they hear that things have changed. They know that there's a difference. And so they're much more attuned to that. They're still not hearing what I'm saying, but at least they understand that it's silent in the courtroom.
Let me ask you a possible legal question, your opinion.
Yeah.
Is it almost a strategy that if you call the judge out on that, very politely, of course, in the middle of it, that if it becomes an issue that he didn't hear something and ruled the wrong way because he didn't hear something, does it almost become an appellate issue? Well, I said you were not paying attention to me.
Look. No, not really, because the judge is either going to rule correctly or he's going to rule incorrectly, right. And that's what becomes the appealable issue. Okay, the incorrect ruling. So yes, it becomes an issue on appeal, but not the fact that he wasn't paying attention.
But it's not like
that sounds like a wow.
Right. So it's not like even a Judicial Qualifications Commission complaint issue. It's just like,
oh God, no.
This is what you want to do is alienate judges in prison.
It's not that you don't want to alienate the judges. You want to be good to these people because they're doing a public service for the most part. I can talk. I have cases all around the country. Okay, California, Texas. I can just Colorado, Michigan, New York. I've had cases in
right.
Many states. I said Texas, but I've had a lot in Texas. Okay, as well as Florida, which is where my base is.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been in front of wonderful judges in all these jurisdictions, and I would say that my favorite jurisdiction is Palm Beach County, and I love Broward County, in Florida. We've got honest, decent judges who work really hard and really try to do what's right for people. So why in the world would you give somebody like that a hard time and try to make their day not better?
Peter, I won't name names here, but I was on the opposite end of the law for many years, and I've had a hell of a time with at least one Broward judge. In my opinion, horrendous human being, horrible to everybody that came before him. and I won't name him out of respect for you and your profession. But I was a law clerk in prison, so yes, I filed judicial qualifications complaints and bar complaints and all this stuff, and
Okay.
post conviction. So I was very, very effective. But again, you have to have your facts before you. So
I won't say that every judge I've ever been in front of has been a decent or most wonderful person. Okay.
Right.
And some of them get it completely wrong. And some of them are against criminals, and some of them are too lenient for criminals. But the fact of the matter is that in my experience, most judges, and I could name a number of them, that just wonderful human beings that really try the best to do what's right.
I'll say one quote that this one guy used to say to a lot of people, including people that maybe just had a burglary charge, but they had a criminal history, so their points were high, meaning they scored higher, they were eligible for more time.
Right.
So, for my audience, one of the things he would say routinely is, the only way you're leaving here, mister, is in a pine box. Like, just gratuitously mean to people that are already miserable, depressed, and scared.
I've never even been in front of a judge that would say that.
Well, I've seen it happen numerous times in this judge's
you were in
courtroom.
criminal courts. I'm in the civil courts. And maybe the civil courts are just that much more civil.
And here I am. I'm not in the pine box. I'm doing well. I'm one of the people that he said it to. And I've been out for 3 years doing well with a successful reality show and good friends.
Yeah. No, that's terrible that judge would say that. And that might be the kind of thing that you should report to a Judicial Qualification Commission. But
people get scared and fear retaliation.
I just have not ever had any judge do anything in my presence that I thought was worthy. I've had them make bad decisions sometimes. I've had them. I've got this one judge in the federal system in the Middle District of Florida who hates me because I'm a Trump supporter, and she's looking to sanction me for almost $1 million.
I remember that was recently, in the last few months, over the Hillary Clinton case. Okay, Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, because I'm the guy that filed the Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton, et cetera,
Racketeering lawsuit, I understand it. Something like
I wasn't. That wasn't the part that I was really. It was more a injurious falsehood type case than a racketeering case, but the racketeering case kind of took over on what it was. But in any event, yes, I'm the one that filed it, and so she looks at that case and thinks that I'm a bad person and wants to punish me for that. This is a terrible person. Because she's not the kind of judge that should be a judge at all.
We need to start a fundraiser for Peter to pay this ridiculous fine. I don't know what your financial situation is. Not my business. I will say this thing. Another judge, I'm not even going to name him. He always used to say, whenever he sentenced somebody to prison, he followed it by probation. So he became known in Broward County as Judge Follows. There you're going before Judge Follows by. And he said at one time in a public legal forum, every time I sentenced somebody to prison, they took him off the criminal bench and put him on the civil because he can't tell.
That was Barry Goldstein.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And that's not what he said. He said
it was something like that.
He said, if I find you guilty of violating probation, you're going to jail. And that was predetermining for everybody.
Right. It was along those lines.
And so he was removed in all those cases, and eventually had to be moved over to the civil side.
Exactly.
But actually, he was a bit of a hanging judge. I agree. But once he came to the civil side, my experience with him was that he was fair and decent.
I never had him, by the way. So for the record, I was just like jailhouse lawyer hearing these horror stories.
No, I don't know about the. He made a mistake by saying that, but the fact is,
nobody's perfect.
Every judge is going to have some predilections, but if they're fair, they're going to listen, and they'll say, "This is an exception. I'm not going to do it." But he shouldn't have said that, and that haunted him for the rest of his time on the bench.
Do you remember another case here where the Miranda warning form printed out by the Broward Sheriff's Office was missing like one line? It said you have a right to attorney before and after questioning. I think it left during the questioning part out. So everybody that signed that, and the only thing that existed in the case was the Miranda, the confession, had their confessions thrown out, and lots of people were released from prison because of that one faulty form, which I think the printer made a mistake on.
I don't know. Go figure.
Yeah, so it's the littlest thing can influence a case. That's the technicality.
We're not here today for that.
No, we're not. We're here for
too much of this chat.
We're here for Donald Trump, and we want to hear more about why he needs to be president. And what the heck is wrong with this Kamala? There you go.
Well, there's two things going. First of all, he needs to be president because he's going to fix what's broken. This is a man who really knows how to correct things, how to fix things. Somebody asked me what I thought he wanted in terms of his legacy in the movie. I said, well, they left out the part where I said, I don't think he gives a damn about his legacy. I think he cares about getting things done and getting them done right and fixing things that are broken. That's how I don't, I've never sat there and talked to Donald Trump about, oh, I hope I remember me by, I mean, you're talking about a man who, to accomplish what he needs to accomplish, has to envision the future, has to know the lessons of the past, but he has to live in the present. And he does. He is someone who's here and now. He's not someone who's sitting back thinking, well, in the future, I want my legacy to be this and I want my legacy to be that. I think he kind of figures that his legacy is going to look after itself no matter what. And he's going to have to deal with what he has to deal with at this point in time.
I mean, look at the reality. They shoot him in the head. He rose up immediately. He said that he peeked from underneath after he was shot and saw how aghast the audience was. They thought he was dead. He got up with his fist raised high. Right there's the photo. Iconic photo saying fight.
Look, this
is a brave guy right here.
I'm so proud to be able to call him a friend. And it's only on the grace of God that I know him the way I do, and that I was blessed to be able to be his friend in our senior year of high school when we were very close. You live with a guy for most of the school year, and I don't have a bad word to say about him. If somebody needed me to say something negative about Donald Trump, I'd have to make it up. There's nothing that I have that I could possibly say about Donald Trump that would be in any way revealing of anything negative about his character, because even then he was just a prince among men. People really liked him. He was always well liked. That's the best way I could put it.
I remember something, and it's in your book, I believe, that where you said that like he was a supervisory thing over you, right? Your sergeant.
Well, he was my captain.
He was your captain.
He made me a platoon sergeant.
And there was
in his company, yes.
And there was others that were in certain roles that were almost verbally and sometimes physically abusive to the other people in your class, and he never was that way.
In other companies, other captains
right.
were absolutely abusive to some of the people underneath them.
Right.
And one friend of mine, he it may sound terrible, but he used a dog chain, to threaten. I don't think he actually used it to hit him, but he might have hit him with it. But it sounds like a terrible thing, but I don't think it actually caused any real pain. It's just that the image of it was so horrible.
Of course.
And that was in my it must have been the beginning of my third year. His name was Mike Scallion. Really good person, and he got to be a captain, and he did this, and he did it to the wrong guy. He did it to a guy, grandson of a fellow named Westbrook Pegler. And Westbrook Pegler was very famous in his day, just after World War II, before my time. I was just a kid, but there was a big lawsuit between him and a fellow named Quentin Reynolds. And so Westbrook Pegler was a really the biggest reporter for the Hearst Press. And he threatened to destroy the school unless that captain was expelled, unless the commandant was fired, unless the headmaster was fired, unless et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the school kowtowed and gave this guy everything he was asking for. And things really got cleared up to a great extent. So until then, things were a little bit more brutal. But even after that, captains would have all the cadets in formation, and they could easily, they would go in front of a cadet that's in formation, face that cadet, and that cadet then has to port arms. and because we had M1s, and the captain would grab the rifle, open the chamber where the clip goes, examine the rifle, give it back. But sometimes these captains would, if they had something against the kid or whatever, the cadet, would maybe knee them in a place that nobody should ever be kneed. And, and they basically ran their companies with a bit of fear in it. And Donald was never like that. Donald, it's not like he hardly ever did anything like that. He never, ever did anything like that to anybody. He was a sensitive person who understood what everybody was going through and basically looked out for people. The people that were under his own command, he looked out for. We caught a thief one time. I caught a thief. A guy I knew the cadet. The cadet was away from his room. A cadet was, and there was another fellow that I knew wasn't there, and so I saw somebody was in their room. So I kind of watched. The door was open, and this fellow was at this other guy's desk. Took his Zippo lighter, put it in his pocket. So I saw him do that, and then I brought him directly to Donald Trump. And I said, "This is what he has." And then Donald had him empty his pockets, and he also had some money that was stolen from another cadet. And we knew that money was identifiable because it just so happened that it had spilled his mother's perfume on his wallet. And so it had the same smell on the money as the wallet. This is going back a long way.
The early dye pack, the mother's perfume.
So the fact of the matter is we lived under a code, okay? It was called the Honor Code. And this is the Honor Code. A cadet shall never lie, cheat, or steal from another cadet. And we all lived by that. Okay, that was drilled into us.
But everybody else was fair game?
Yeah, I personally stole from the academic building for government inspection. It was the only place to get the kind of wax we needed from our floors. And I launched an operation where we ended up getting the wax that we needed to be able to pass government inspection.
I love your honesty. That's why I'm running for president in 2028, because I was a liar, a thief, a womanizer, I'm all that. Vote for me. At least with me, you know what you're getting.
Yeah, well, that could be good.
William Steele, 2028. Right, Peter?
I don't know. It's a lot of work. I don't know what you can
do. A lot of work. So,
okay, you're a hard worker, so maybe. But the fact is that Donald Trump is just the epitome of what we need as the president of the United States.
Amen.
But there's far more reason than his goodness and his and what he is, and that's what is coming. People just don't get it. They just don't understand what is going on in terms of this organization that was formed in 1972 by a protege of Henry Kissinger named Klaus Schwab. This fellow, Klaus Schwab, you know what I'm talking about with Klaus Schwab, Mary? You a little bit? Okay.
Something to do with Nazis, I think, right?
What's that?
I think it was something to do with Nazis, right? Or no?
No, not so much. No.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't have enough information to opine on that. Okay.
Peter's a very wise man, as is Tom. So let's listen closely now.
It started off with a European financial group, where they attempted to bring private industry, the private sector, together with government to make each work better.
Okay.
Of course, when you actually combine, that's what Mussolini did. He combined the private sector with government, and he gave it a name called fascism.
Right.
Okay, which he thought was pretty cool, but it also caused him to be a dictator. So that's what fascism is. You hear the name, well, you're a fascist, but like people use names. So at some point in time, they got to realize what was going on in terms of the planet getting warmer. Okay, well, there's no question we're getting warmer. And there's a lot of questions as to how and why. But meanwhile, forget what the reality is. just look at it from the point of view of what these people believe, because these people are the enemy of the United States. These people are our enemy. And if you don't understand how your enemy is thinking, you will not understand what they are doing, how they're doing it, and how to oppose them. So understanding your enemy is important. So the way that these people think is that they have to do something to save the world, which means save their own,
Right.
Save
Exactly.
themselves. And they want to save the world from global warming. Well, we know that what's causing the warming to some extent, and maybe there's things that are cyclical, and maybe it's this, and maybe it's that, but these people know, okay? Forget what you and I know, forget what reality is, okay? I tend to agree with them to some extent, a great extent, as to what's causing this. And I could explain that all, but it would take time. And I don't want to bore everybody.
Come on tomorrow and
No,
talk about it.
no.
Distract yourself
I'm
during
sorry,
election day.
I got other things I'm doing. Okay, so the point is that there are different ways that we could geoengineer the planet.
Right.
Okay. One way, let's just assume that everybody on the planet to some extent is part of the problem. And the problem is that we're putting more and more carbon into the atmosphere. Okay. So let's just say this is a piece of carbon. Okay. And let's just say if I were to break it up into 1,000 little pieces and they all just hover together, if the sun hits them all during the day and they warm up, get excited, right? Their molecules become more excited. Then they radiate heat out, but they radiate it not only out to space, but they radiate it to each other. So they may be giving off 90% of it and accepting 10% more back, but that tends to keep the heat in a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, it'll all go out to outer space, but for the meantime, it holds it in. And the next day comes and that warms up the air, because there's nothing in oxygen or nitrogen that warms up. It's the carbon. If we didn't have carbon dioxide in our atmosphere, we'd have no life on Earth.
Right.
We'd be 200 degrees plus during the day. We'd be minus 200 degrees at night. Okay, because that's what would happen. But because we have carbon in our atmosphere, it's a good thing. But if we have too much, it makes us too warm. Have not enough, it makes us too cold. So we've gone through all these cycles where we get too much, and that enhances plant life. Plants take over the planet. They absorb it all, and then then we get an ice ball for the planet, because then we don't have enough carbon dioxide in the air. So it goes back and forth. It's cyclical, and we understand how that works. Well, so do these people, okay? But instead of thinking about, hey, let's get 1,000 mile by 1,000 mile piece of aluminum foil that are put in front of the oceans so we can kind of cool the planet, or geoengineer the planet in other ways, put things in the stratosphere that will work or whatever. They have another idea, because, like, as I say, assuming everybody is a piece of this. So, why do we have this problem? Okay, so then you have to look at our population. In the times of Jesus Christ, we had 200 million people on the planet. It took 1,800 years from then before that 200 million multiplied by 5 became 1 billion. 1804 is the year that the planet hit 1 billion population. And then it only took 120 years to 1924 for it to double, become 102 billion. And then over the next 75 years, by 1999, we were 6 billion. And now we're over 8 billion. So these people look at this humongous population and realize that if everybody's adding to the problem, because you want to be able to stay warm in winter, and you want to be able to be cool in Florida with air conditioning, you want to be able to drive your car, you want to be able to run your sewing machine, you want to be able to run your factory and make shirts, everything takes energy. And energy to us is the energy that the sun poured into the earth in terms of vegetation that ultimately got buried and compressed and turned into oil and coal and natural gas.
And methane.
Okay. Well, methane and natural gas are the
Right.
same.
Okay.
CH4. Okay. So what we have is a world populated by a population that's too large, because our waste product is what's causing our own demise, according to these people. And so the way they want to, there are people like Bill Gates, who basically says that the optimum population for the earth is 500 million. I don't know how they got that figure. Linus Pauling thought it was 1 billion. So we have different people with different numbers, but certainly 8 billion is above the number. If you wanted to figure this out,
right,
to make a sustainable world, what would the population be? So the understanding is, and I have a lot of evidence about a lot of things, okay? About January 6th, I could tell you what really started it and so on, because I was the one in charge of marshaling all that evidence.
And we talk about that on previous shows, so check it out, guys. And when we have Peter back, we can circle back on that. Let's see how the election goes tomorrow.
Well,
we got to focus on this right here.
Yeah. So I did see a video, and all the things that came my way. I did see a video of one of the leaders of WEF, the World Economic Forum, explaining, and I don't know what the group was. I know it was a group of about 30, 40 people, and I think they were new members, but that wasn't made clear.
Right.
And one thing that I saw him explaining was what we needed was a means of reducing the population without violence, he said. And then he said, and we have that now. Now, he didn't go on to explain what it was that he has, but that's what he said. I don't have much proof, and I'm a person that deals with proof rather than belief, because, belief in facts doesn't make sense. If you believe in God, yes, okay, by all means, have belief in spiritual things.
Right.
But when it comes to facts, you got to know, because of evidence, if this is true or if this is not true. To simply believe that in certain things, it doesn't. They say that belief is the enemy of knowledge.
Right. And
that does make sense to me.
A belief doesn't move the needle without the supporting evidence.
You need the supporting evidence. That's how you win a lawsuit too. How you win a lawsuit for a non-jury trial? Evidence. You know how you win a lawsuit for a jury trial?
Emotion.
Evidence.
Oh, really?
Yes.
How do you explain the OJ verdict?
The glove didn't fit, did it?
Hey, but it was overwhelming evidence of his guilt, and he still was
acquitted. The glove didn't fit.
Listen, we get it, but
okay, there was no
people are on death row for less than what convicted him.
I understand.
But before, less than what they had on him.
I get that. And I for a while, I had the same as other people, emotions in regard to him, until I realized that he's actually a person who suffered from chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
That's the injuries from playing football?
Yeah. And because all of his symptoms and his behavior, including the outright murders, are completely consistent with a person who suffered from that injury.
I think it was Aaron Hernandez. We just found out had that as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that he actually was the epitome. They say his damage to his brain was as much more than anyone else they've witnessed.
Right.
So anyway, this isn't about OJ. So getting down to the World Economic Forum, it's possible that that's what they want to do. And then if you think about it, then everything makes sense. Because who joined it? So all the billionaires that basically have pledged 30% of all their holdings, not to pay over to the World Economic Forum, but to use for the purposes of the World Economic Forum. So, when Bezos, for instance, joins up and he's a member, then they tell him, hey, Jeff, we want you to buy the Washington Post.
Right.
All right. They bought up the media. Before that, they had infiltrated and basically taken over, lower, middle, and higher education. You're wondering, how can we be in this situation? Why is the media so against Trump? And, like, why are these people doing that? Because they're bought and paid for. So we got all these forces of evil that have the central purpose of depopulation. And, the funny thing is, all these supporters of Kamala Harris don't have a clue as to what she's getting herself into. She wasn't given the appointment of vice president from Joe Biden. Oh, it was Soros's son who was the one that approved her to be the new vice president. These are the people that are pulling the strings on the puppet.
Right.
Okay. And so, these are all part of the same thing. So if you put it all together, everything starts to make sense. Okay. And that's what we need to vote against. And the fact of the matter is that a vote for Kamala Harris is potentially a vote against your own life. And as crazy as that may seem, that's the way it is.
It is. You're voting against your own self-interest and preservation.
Yeah,
in my
because
opinion,
you're not the ones that are going to be on their on their lists that are included. The billionaires and their allotted numbers are going to be the ones that they want to save themselves at your expense, and you're so silly that you're going to actually vote for them and empower them to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to know why we need to win this election for Donald Trump, it's because he's the honest one. He's the one that's not doing this for this ulterior motive or controlled by the forces that be that are actually against the people. And when he says they're coming after you, I just happen to be standing in their way, that is the absolute truth.
Peter, you're very knowledgeable, and we have a couple of questions we'd like to get to from people that have been watching. So first, let me get to somebody who's very dear to me, my mother-in-law, Leslie Revis. She said she's been to the grocers because whatever happens tomorrow, I expect there to be rioting and looting. Regardless, great interview and insight, Peter. God bless you, Tom Madden, and Bill for trying. And then in conjunction with that, I think we saw another comment from Tom right along those same thoughts. He's asking you, media putting out fear of civil unrest after the 2024 election results. What's your thoughts on this alert, Peter?
It doesn't, whatever they're going to do, they're going to do. Right now, oh God, they have so much of a fix that's in. And I told you how Donald Trump's votes count twice as much as Kamala's votes, and that made sense, right? I mean,
yes,
mathematically, it's just not, there's only one way to look at it, and that's the way it is. And so, assuming that he's got about 20 million more people coming over, and then Bobby Kennedy himself is bringing in another 10, I think.
Democrat Party royalty jumped ship and is now supporting Trump.
The fact of the matter is these people have waken up.
Right.
They know what I know. I have so many more people, over the last few years when I've come to learn all these things about what's going on. And the fact of the matter is it's so hard to grasp and so hard to believe that anybody would actually have some kind of this Lex Luthor kind of craziness. But I know now that Elon Musk sees it and has called Soros, a Magneto from the comics and so on. So he sees it. He understands it. I get more and more people now telling me as though I didn't know it, letting me know, because they're almost in a panic when they realize, oh my God, this is actually happening. How could this actually be happening? It's too unreal. It's too unbelievable. But in fact, it is. And now more and more people are catching on. So once their eyes are open, they can't just go back to not understanding and seeing it anymore. And that's why we're going to win this election. Well, mark my words.
Amen.
Okay, so
We have another question up on the screen from Tom. If you want to put that up, and also my mother-in-law Diane Revis thanked us for bringing that issue up, and thank you for watching. I love you guys very much. So Tom's saying Trump 2024 campaign compared to 2016 and 2020. And I do want to say this, you know, as a host of these shows and somebody who has a pretty phenomenal fan base that I would love to all move over here to YouTube and Rumble. I want there to be peace and everybody getting along. I have Democrat friends who I love dearly. I don't agree with their views politically and, you know, what's going on. But please, whatever happens tomorrow, whatever side prevails, and I do believe it's going to be Donald Trump, you know, peace. There's no reason to burn down a city or hurt your neighbor or loot. We ask for peaceful.
No. It wouldn't be them. It's not our audience. It's not these people that are going to cause any
I know that. I told Mary that on the
about?
I told Mary that on the way over.
You're asking them for peace. You're asking peace-loving people for peace.
No, I'm asking.
No, the people that are going to be doing this are
Democrats.
Yeah,
I know
these
that.
are the people that did the January 6th. These are the people that did did Seattle. They did all.
That's exactly what I was referring, but I was trying to be diplomatic about it.
Forget being diplomatic.
But I told Mary on the way over here, and she could say it off camera. What did I say? The problem's going to come from when they lose. The left is going to loot, burn down cities, all this nonsense. We do not encourage it. We do not encourage
violence. I got
violence.
news for you. They'll do it if we lose. They'll do it if we win.
Didn't I tell you that?
Yes.
Okay.
She said that, right?
No, because they got that's
interestingly
the worst fear is that when they started implementing martial law, and now I understand that they actually have given the right commands or whatever necessary or executive orders so that the military are now in a position where they can be ordered to act against the populations. You know, look, let me tell you, if Kamala Harris is the president on Wednesday or Thursday, if she wins this election, I don't know if I can say this on this program, but it's a matter of we could stick our head between our legs and kiss our asses goodbye.
There you go. Look, the Dodgers just won the World Series. I'm a Yankee fan. I'm a New York guy from Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, and
then the fine citizens
from Brooklyn, you should be for the bums.
Well, then the fine citizens of Los Angeles decided to tear down that city anyway, even though they won the World Series. So can you imagine what's going to happen? I want to play something real quick. Roger Homefield, dear friend of mine, just Joe Citizen Show. There he is. He's got to listen. It's all about policy. They have failed policies. If you think you're better off now than you were 4 years ago, you know, continue with the nonsense that's in office now. I want my audience to hear policy. Peter, check this out. It's very brief.
Policy, 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 policy.
Please, guys, spread that around for Roger Homefield and for Donald Trump. There goes Roger on the right. He's a pretty famous trombonist, musician. Put that out, and we've been trying to help promote it. But,
who wrote the music for West Side City?
West Side Story. It's Rodgers and Hammerstein, possibly. Is that old? But it does have that same, you know.
No, that's the music. From that. Somebody's going to get sued.
Well, yeah. We'll know, and you can't say that because it might be a copyright strike. But if it is, YouTube will certainly take it back down. I've used it before. They've never brought up the copyright issue. I think if you slightly alter music, you could sound similar. It has that vibe, and then I don't know. I didn't create it. Roger did. Roger's brilliant. It's very catchy. It's right to the chase. It's all about policy. You want more failed policies?
God bless you, Roger.
God bless you, Roger. That's from Peter Ticktin. There he goes. So we hope you're watching. Listen, we always run over when we have Peter because, frankly, when you tell a story, you do go a little long. I love you, but I don't know how to politely say, "Hey, let's move on," because you really have so much insightful stuff to say, and I always give my older friends deference. So that being said,
how old am I? I'm 54 years old.
And I always tell people
I know
I'm 28.
this because I've been 54 for 24 years.
I always tell people I'm 28.
Well, the fact of the matter is, obviously, I'm Donald Trump's age if we were classmates.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So lifelong friend of Donald Trump, ends up being his attorney. We know he's going to get back in office. And I hope you become like Attorney General or maybe Ambassador to Canada or something important.
Mark my words. You know, my money's on New York. My money's on New York.
That's right.
And why is my money on New York? My money's on New York because you see, the thing is, the worst part of the plan that the left have, as diabolical as it is, it's even worse because they screw everything up.
Yep.
They don't know how to build things. They don't know how to fix things. They don't know how to make things happen right, except for stealing elections and things like that.
One
But
minute.
they're not going to get away with this one because they didn't shore up New York, and they didn't shore up New Jersey because they knew that those would not switch, but they can, especially after that trial that was in New York, because that was not just on national news. That trial, because it was against Donald Trump, so it got the full works.
Right.
It was on the national news, and more importantly, it was on the local news as well.
Yep.
And so even the local newspapers, the Post told the truth about a lot of the stuff. But if you're a young black man that's in New York City, and you know how your people have been misused by the judicial system, and you see the same thing happening to Donald Trump, then you know that he knows what it is to be up against the man. And not only is he up against the man, but your folks or somebody that you know and love is also up against this. And now you see that, and there's a reason that we've got maybe up to 60% of the male black vote that's going to be voting for Donald Trump. And the reason is that Donald is because they're not stupid.
That's right. That's exactly
okay?
Right.
They're not stupid. And the left think that they're stupid, but they're not. I mean, I could tell you, I'm in front of black judges. I have black lawyers on the other side. I got black lawyers work with me. I got some of the smartest people I know are black. Black people aren't stupid people. Okay, there's some black people that are stupid and some white people that are stupid. But the fact of the matter is that they're not a stupid race. And the Democrats think that they are. They can give them this nursery story about that they're really the good guys, and that the people that freed the slaves, like Abraham Lincoln, who was the first Republican,
Republicans freed the slaves.
Not, and
the Democrats say keep them in chains. Get with it.
Yes. But they do it through remuneration and different kinds of ways that they get their loyalty, and people sell their souls for money. But the fact of the matter is they know that something is wrong here. Why is this government doing this lawfare against Donald Trump?
Who's helped them?
Because that, it just isn't right for the President of the United States and his people, meaning the Department of Justice, taking it upon itself to prosecute his opponent the way that they went after the man, not after the crime. And so they know it because they see it among their own life experience.
They've been through
it. Many of them have been through it. And so it's an awakening of the fact that there's something seriously wrong with what's going on.
I have to say, Peter, to cut you off for a second, I witnessed it firsthand in prison when that transformation took place, because so many of the black inmates I was surrounded by and other guys that weren't paying attention really believed the Democrats were our best bet to be in office, to let them go, or easier sentencing and all that. I said, don't you understand that the crime bill of 1994, you had Biden on the floor of Congress or whatever it was at the time, Senate, whatever he was, calling blacks super predators, and they needed 20 years in prison for a lot of crack cocaine in that period. And the Democrats all supported that.
Yeah, and look
that
what
was
Donald Trump did.
He freed everybody. He freed people with all these drug charges.
Understand. That's because he's the real thing.
Right.
He's not doing it for this political purpose or that political purpose. He's doing what needs to be done because his mind is in fixing the things that are broken.
Even Latinos for Trump, a group, has a nice song out about him. I've seen the guy with the little mustache thing.
I'll tell you,
Hadas Levy.
That's
Hello,
the 30
Hadas.
million that he's bringing over, which count as far more than what they're manufacturing. The problem is that they've taken what they're manufacturing and concentrated them in the swing states. That's why Michigan has 500,000 more voters on the voting rolls than the number of voters that actually exist.
Yeah.
Okay, it's because they're playing into it, and it very likely is going to work on most of the swing states. Not all of them. Strangely enough, it won't be all of them, even as much as they've got to throw into it. But it's not going to work on other states where the majority of the people are going to come out.
That's right.
Okay, because New York City is New York City, but New York State has a lot of people that are total Trump.
You got a
people.
corrupt Democrat governor, in my opinion, who took over for Cuomo, corrupt, and now Hochul, I think her name is. Now they don't do anything about the migrant and the escalating crime in the city or anywhere else, but they killed a very famous squirrel
the other
day.
Major
Peanut the squirrel. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but you'll see the story on the news today.
I saw it.
It's very sad. It had me almost crying. What is wrong with these Democrats? They don't care about human on human crime.
Yeah, but you weren't crying for the squirrel. You were crying for the people that love the squirrel. And
it's a horrible story.
Yeah, I get it. But the fact of the matter is, tomorrow is going to tell a very interesting story.
My mother-in-law, being Canadian, says, "God bless all of you. Be sure to say your prayers tonight, because if Peter becomes ambassador to Canada, be sure I'm first on his list to go back home." She's tired of the drama here. I'd say, like Rodney King says, Peter, can't we all just get along? But it's not that simple, guys.
When I was a younger man and I was up in Canada, and I had lunch one day with Pierre Trudeau, and that was a completely different man than his son. So, who I never had lunch with, and I'm not looking forward to having lunch. I don't think I'll end up as ambassador to Canada, but
we want something good for you. Maybe become Attorney General.
No. That requires a certain, I think he's going to make really good picks this time around. He's got some wonderful people. He's got Bobby Kennedy. He's got Elon Musk.
What's Elon Musk going to do?
He's got Alina Hava. Okay, what a tremendous person she is. Okay.
Alina, come on my show, please. Make 10 minutes. Come on my show.
She doesn't have time. Stop fucking her.
I'm trying to reach her.
No. She's busy, but she's sharp as a tack. I got to tell you, and she has the guts to do whatever is required. She would make a wonderful attorney general. I would, if I were Donald Trump, I wouldn't even think of me if I've got her. There's tremendous. He just has to make sure that he has the real thing this time. Not no Bill Barr type of chameleons who pretend to be
chameleon. That's it.
Chameleon or chameleon. Yeah. No, he can't have these two-faced people, or people that actually believe what they're saying but don't have, that's called the intestinal fortitude to actually be consistent when times get tough or influences start occurring that would influence them to change their loyalty. He needs people that are part of the program, because this is not a situation where we're voting for school president of our class, okay, where it doesn't make a damn difference what happens.
Right.
This is, because the administration of the school is going to run the way it's going to run. We're not looking for just which person's more popular, which one do you think is going to be better, but which one is going to keep us safe, which one's going to end the nuclear threat that we're under right now between Ukraine and Russia. Right. Which one is going to stop the wars in the Middle East and take a stand against Iran? I mean, you look what, Patrick Byrne's book, he talks about how $8 billion was in the hands of the Pakistanis when Trump was in office. He had the Iranian monies that were basically seized around the world, and the Pakistanis had $8 billion of Iranian money. And according to Patrick Byrne's book, what Biden did was he agreed to loosen up that money for Iran, but $100 million had to be put into a very special account that was in favor of Mr. Biden.
Right.
So, these people, they don't fool around. I mean, how is it that Barack Obama, who never had, I think he had like $700,000, he never had $1 million when he was president. How is it that now he's wealthy beyond, beyond what you can even count. I mean, how is it the billion? They're turning into whatever, 100 millionaires to billionaires.
They're
these
not
people.
public servants. They're self-serving servants. Now, Donald Trump is a self-made billionaire who has given up everything, including risking his life. Repeatedly, they've tried to kill him to try to help turn things around.
No.
There was no wars, to my knowledge, when he was president. He immediately had everybody in the Middle East sit down for a big meeting. I remember that.
Look at what the Abraham Accords were.
Mhm.
And look, generation after generation, president after president, the president promised they were going to move the embassy to Jerusalem.
Right.
And he's the first one that had the guts.
He did it. Oh, they were afraid they were going to throw rocks or kill somebody. Well, they do that anyway. They do that anyway.
You know what? Donald Trump is not a man that works or lives out of fear. And I can tell you
that's
that.
obvious from the photographs we have.
Yes, it's obvious from the photograph, but this is what we as cadets went through in terms of our training. And I think most people in the armed forces that went through basic training tended to learn to shed this fear. They scare you with whatever they scare you with, and ultimately you stand up to that. And when you stand up to that, then for the rest of your life, you've got the guts.
That's right. So I explained my fiance, Mary Bass, she's here. She's a forensic accountant, and she put a question on the screen. Would Mary Bass be a good addition to President Trump to the U.S. Treasury Department?
How would I know?
How many years do you know Mary? Smart girl.
Can we say possibly not the worst?
No, definitely possible.
That's all I'm looking for.
Oh, okay, no. Yeah, no, yes, you would be wonderful.
Thank you.
God bless you, Peter.
And
I love you, Mary.
And Mary, the loyalty that I'm talking about is what you would have, and that I don't see you cowering and being afraid of it.
She's not. We've gone against some serious people, and she started it all, really, going against some really serious people. So that backstory in California and what we do in the books that we write and everything, and the stories we do, the crime victim advocacy.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So Peter is the lawyer you want between you and your problems. He's literally Donald Trump's pretty much lifelong friend since they were teenagers. Wrote the book, represents him. This is the attorney you want between you and your problems. The Ticktin Law Group is based in Deerfield Beach, Florida. We're actually in his office right now. It's gorgeous. We have this black backdrop, but I assure you we're in a gorgeous conference room, and I'm going to get some photographs in his office, whatever he allows us to take photographs of.
And that's another good example of good lawyering. All the other lawyers that I'm on, we do Zoom calls now. And, I got black behind us in each one of our conference rooms.
Right.
Okay. Because the Zoom calls, you want to be able to make your best presentation possible. So when you've got distractions and they want, even they look and see what books you've got on your shelf behind you or whatever, it distracts the judge. So we needed one solid color because Zoom, which is the one that most courts use, gives you this black back, the interface,
Right.
like your pictures there, but
It's a somber, serious background with
it
no
works
distractions.
Well, look at this,
No distractions. So I can attest to this, and we'll put some footage up about this later.
but you have to tell them how to get a hold of me.
Right there, we put it on the screen a minute ago.
Legalbrains.com.
Legalbrains.com.
There it is. You got it there.
I will say
Legalbrains.com.
this building is gigantic. I don't know how many attorneys you have with you anymore, but the building's gigantic, and this is a powerhouse firm. If you guys, I think anything from like a car accident to a presidential pardon, for God's sake, he's pulled that off before.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's what we do. We
toot your own horn.
we're in it to win it. Okay.
There you go.
And we take the odd cases. In fact, that's how I built the firm.
Oh, you have the odd case. You have Samantha Markle suing
Oh.
Meghan Markle. My goodness.
Yeah.
We love Samantha. Hello, Samantha.
We
You have a picture of her? No.
We have that's how I started because law firms that do, let's say, personal injury cases, and they might even do dog bite cases, but then along comes a case where a guy gets bitten by a monkey. It was, let's give it to Ticktin. Right? So I got I had a very eclectic practice that did all kinds of crazy stuff because
boutique practice, basically.
well, the fact of the matter is we earned our stripes by doing the unusual things. And, I had a court TV trial that went for 2 weeks where I had a black couple, Haitian couple, who had some kids. One of their sons, Frenzy, he was 7 years old, and they got into a car wreck, and the mother was in the same hospital as the son. Father was in another city. He was in Naples. She was in Fort Myers. Her son was in Fort Myers. They asked her if they could take the son's organs. She said, no, no, no. And they went to the husband in Naples. Can we take his organs? No, no, no. So they forged the mother's permission. And they took the son's, a 7-year-old boy, they took his organs. And he had an EEG. They gave him an electroencephalogram to make sure that there was no brain activity. And guess what? There was brain activity. He was not brain dead. So they basically killed this child,
Oh my God.
taking all of his organs. The mother testified at trial. They cleaned my son like a fish. And, that was a case. That's the only case in the history of the United States for wrongful organ procurement that actually even got the trial. And we won the case.
Hopefully the people that forged that signature are sitting in prison somewhere.
Well, no, and I couldn't even sue for the medical malpractice because it was after 3 years that I got the case.
Oh man.
And
That's critical, guys. And I noticed from being a law clerk, there's always statute of limitations, deadlines for filing. I think some of them, if you could prove fraud or something like that, or concealment, you can get around that. But there's always statute of limitations. Peter, where do you operate out of besides Deerfield Beach here? I know you're admitted basically in other jurisdictions as well, right?
I'm admitted in Florida, and I'm admitted in federal courts all around the states. From Colorado, Texas. Some states you can't join the federal bar unless you're actually a member of that court.
Okay.
But then I do proactive EG cases in those states.
Gotcha.
I've been to the, in terms of courts of appeals, I've had a few things that I sent up to the Supreme Court. I've been in front of the Supreme Court of Canada, the Supreme Court of Ontario, the Supreme Court of California, Supreme Court of Florida, and I have had appeals. Yeah. Okay. And in terms of other so I've been to the 11th Circuit, the 2nd Circuit, the 5th Circuit,
11th Circuit, isn't that where
the 9th Circuit.
Where's Samantha's case now? Samantha Markle, Meghan Markle's sister.
That's in Florida, in the Middle District,
Okay.
and that would be that. So that's in front of the 11th Circuit.
Still under appeal, I think.
Yes, it is. That is 11th Circuit Court of Appeals.
Okay, guys, he's been very, very generous with his time, and I want him to give any closing thoughts. Listen, it's a very important day tomorrow. We call for, peace on both sides. We don't encourage anything, inappropriate here at all. And Trump did also for January 6th, and they suppressed all those. And now Elon Musk released a lot of that where he was calling for peace, not problems. So we love you, Donald, and, reach out. I'd love to have you on my show. I know you go on a lot of people's shows, and I know you freed a lot of prisoners. So I was a prisoner, and I'm actually still struggling to get on my feet. I'm looking for meaningful employment. Aside from my shows, I have another reality show coming out. The network stepped it up on the offer, on the ask money, and a movie called Silent Partners. And if we do the second reality show, which looks very, very, very good, you're more than welcome to be in it. You're my friend, my lawyer will do a show. They'll put you on it. So
I can play the lawyer.
Yeah, I'm thinking as we're sitting here, we need to do a documentary about you as well one of these days. Put these clips together, plus maybe a tour of a few things. I think he'd be amenable to that. Let's get through tomorrow. It's election day, guys. Get out there and vote. And like Rodney King said, let's all get along. Listen, we all
Getting along isn't nearly as important as voting.
exactly.
Because if we don't win these things, we're in a lot of trouble. So we've got a really good chance. We've got a great chance, but this is our only chance.
That's right.
Because I got to tell you something, there's not going to be another election that's going to be free and real in the event that we don't win this one. We need to. Donald Trump has to be our next president,
That's right.
or we're done.
The man who wrote the book about the real Donald Trump, right there, lifelong friend. And I know one thing from you and talking to other people that know Donald, he really treasures loyalty, and he's very, very loyal person, and he's put his life, safety, and fortune on the line to help
Well,
every one of us.
Think about it. What's the opposite of loyalty?
Disloyalty. Michael Cohen.
Yeah. No, the opposite of loyalty is betrayal.
Right.
And there's nothing more disgusting and more disheartening, that nothing more destructive than betraying.
No, they'd make stuff up to write a book and make some bunch of money. Bottom line, that's
These
how
are dogs. These are dogs.
how it turns out. God bless you, Donald Trump, your family. Hope to see you in office here in a few months.
Okay.
We know we will get them. Peter, thank you so much for coming on
My
again.
pleasure.
Anytime.
Okay.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, everybody who
Thank you,
joined in.
everybody, for watching.
Thank you, Donald, for your bravery, serving the country.